Welcome to this explainer. Let's jump right in because we're unpacking something absolutely massive today. We are talking about a system followed by, well, over 1 billion people. How exactly does an ancient institution sitting in Cairo, Egypt, manage to act as the center of gravity for such a wonderfully complex global community? Let's find out. Here's our quick roadmap for today. First, the Sunni Muslim world. 2, inside Al-Azhar University. 3, pathways to Islamic scholarship. 4, navigating modern Islamic law. And 5, building global peace. All right, Section 1, the Sunni Muslim world. To really wrap our heads around this, we first have to grasp the sheer scale we're talking about here. A staggering 87 to 90% of the world's estimated 1.57 billion Muslims identify as Sunni. Now, historically, this branch emerged from early historical disputes right after the death of the Prophet Muhammad in 632 AD. Faced with the huge question of leadership, Sunni Islam took root among those who firmly believed the leader should be chosen by community consensus, rather than passed down through hereditary succession from the Prophet's family. And when you look at the global footprint, it's pretty incredible. You can see how the vast majority of this population actually lives across Asia and the Middle East, North Africa regions. In fact, over 60% live in Asia alone. The big takeaway here? Countries like Indonesia, India, and Pakistan hold these massive populations that completely dwarf the demographics of many Middle Eastern nations where the religion originally began. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. Sunni Islam doesn't have a single central authority. There's no pope figure here. Instead, believers are unified by Sharia, which is the overarching framework of Islamic moral and legal rules, and a fluid, pluralist system of accepted historical accounts known as hadiths. Those are the recorded sayings and actions of the Prophet. So, without one single figurehead dictating belief, scholars and jurists have historically been the ones doing the heavy lifting, interpreting and elaborating on the texts. You can see this clearly with the 4 prevailing legal schools: Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, and Hanbali. The fascinating thing is, they all completely recognize each other as legitimate ways to interpret Islamic law. This built-in pluralism is literally what defines Sunni Islam. I mean, even among jurists of the exact same school, having divergent views on the same issue is perfectly acceptable. It's a whole system built on scholarly consensus and independent reasoning. Moving right along, Section 2, inside Al-Azhar University. So without a central global leader, educational institutions become the essential glue holding this massive intellectual tradition together. And Al-Azhar, they step up to the plate in a huge way. We're talking over 1,200 scholarships offered every single year to international students from more than 100 different countries. Teaming up with the Egyptian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they provide full residence, monthly stipends, and wipe out tuition fees. It's a massive magnet, pulling in minds from all across the globe to study in Egypt. But here's the crucial point. This isn't just a university. It is a comprehensive educational ecosystem, covering everything from primary school all the way up to doctoral degrees. Al-Azhar manages this incredible pipeline of education. A student can literally walk in as a primary school child and emerge decades later with a PhD in Islamic sciences, medicine, or even engineering. Okay, Section 3, pathways to Islamic scholarship. With students pouring in from over 100 countries, standardizing the intake is, as you can imagine, a monumental task. Take a look at the stark contrast in admission paths depending on a student's background. If you don't have an equivalent certificate, it's not like you're turned away. Actually, you just have to prove your skills through specialized assessment tests. Al-Azhar is designed to accommodate wildly diverse educational backgrounds by placing students exactly where they belong in the preparatory or secondary systems. But there is one absolute, non-negotiable anchor for all of these pathways, and that is mastering the Arabic language. If an international student shows up without those skills, they are immediately funneled into qualification courses at the Institute of Special Studies. You absolutely must be able to read, write, speak, and hear standard Arabic to seriously engage with these classical texts. Now, what about the folks who just can't physically relocate to Egypt? Well, Al-Azhar hasn't been left in the digital dark ages. Through this sleek 6-step distance learning program, an institution famous for its ancient roots is actively using digital portals and virtual classrooms to reach believers literally anywhere on Earth. Section 4, navigating modern Islamic law. So how do ancient texts actually apply to modern stuff, like banking or national policy? Let's get our terms straight first. When ordinary Muslims, or even judges, have complex legal questions, they turn to a specialist called a mufti. The mufti then provides a fatwa. Think of a fatwa as a customized legal answer, based on texts and independent reasoning, designed to help believers live correctly in a very complex world. Historically, these were private experts, but today, modern states have completely institutionalized the process. And this creates a really fascinating tension. Ethnographic research points out that while the Al-Azhar Fatwa Council acts in an official capacity, they fiercely maintain their traditional independence. They are absolutely not afraid to hold up a stop sign and push back against modern state initiatives, whether that's certain banking practices or mortgages, if they feel those policies clash with classical jurisprudence. In fact, studies show the Al-Azhar Council often finds itself directly at odds with Egypt's official state fatwa institution, Dar al-Ifta. While Dar al-Ifta tends to align with the national interests and government programs, members of the Al-Azhar Fatwa Council frequently refuse to issue fatwas that contradict the established opinions of those 4 traditional Sunni schools we talked about earlier. It is a brilliant, real-world example of checks and balances operating within Islamic authority today. Finally, Section 5, Building Global Peace. Education and law handle the internal community, but how does Al-Azhar interact with the outside world? Well, the institution actively extends its hands to cultural and religious organizations globally to foster genuine global fraternity. Under the Grand Imam's leadership, they've been building some highly visible bridges. A prime example from the sources is the 2019 document on human fraternity for world's peace and living together, which was famously signed jointly with Pope Francis. Speaking to international youth at the Global Ecumenical Theological Institute, the Grand Imam delivered this incredibly powerful message. He urged the next generation to confront senseless, profit-driven wars, saying youth must serve as ambassadors of peace, standing firmly against wars and conflicts. He made it crystal clear that youth aren't just students of faith, they are critical ambassadors who need to stand against nations that exploit conflict for arms profits. And they are going way beyond just dialogue. Al-Azhar has established an active observatory specifically to protect the moderate values of Islam and dismantle extremist narratives. This isn't just about making statements on a website. It is an operational center that analyzes extremist propaganda and systematically refutes it, throwing the immense theological weight and credibility that only Al-Azhar commands right into the ring. As we wrap up this explainer, it leaves us with a truly profound question about the future of global faith and institutional authority. We've seen exactly how Al-Azhar leverages digital learning, navigates tricky legal tensions with state governments, and reaches across religious aisles to build peace. But as our modern world accelerates faster and faster, how will an ancient, decentralized system holding together nearly 2 billion people continue to evolve and adapt? Let that sink in. Keep learning and keep questioning.